Hey cousins, good afternoon to everyone except Kanye West. That bald-headed black Yitler has officially pissed me off, and after I drag him, today we will be debriefing Super Bowl weekend and how FEMA allegedly sent $59 million to New York City last week for illegal immigrants. Also, is Ohio attempting to ban erections? Yes, you heard that correctly. We'll be discussing that mess and so much more. Let's get right into it. Y'all know the vibes. Be sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Welcome to Respectfully. Now, Mr. Kanye West, I have about had enough of Kanye West. And it's sad because, like I've told you guys before, I used to have the pink polo. I thought I was Kanye West. I loved Kanye West. Being from Southside Chicago, Kanye West has been one of my favorite artists of my entire life. But I cannot keep defending Kanye West. It has gotten out of control. So I will preface with this. In Kanye's, not defense, but for clarity of Kanye's situation, he is now claiming in a recent interview that he's actually autistic, but he already has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So I'm wondering how many other mental disorders does he have going on, because this man seems to be crashing out every so often. And I do find it funny. I just find it funny how when Kanye West's albums are doing really well, he doesn't seem to be as crazy as when his album flops, because his Vulture 2 album was paid dust by everybody. And all of a sudden he started acting crazy again. But let's get into Kanye West. So he made this whole insane Twitter rant. I can't even show you majority of the tweets because they're so insane. And he ended up deactivating his account after making all of these absurd, insane tweets. But it was so vile. It's so disgusting. And it honestly just makes me ashamed to see one of the most legendary artists of my lifetime for sure, but really of all time, crash out and burn in the way that he is. So let's just go through a select few of these tweets. So first, he talks about being the future president. So, and as you see, X had to put a little warning on it. And what's crazy about that is X lets so many different things slide at this point. So, you know, you're about to get into some mess when you start seeing that there is actually a visibility limited sticker on this tweet, but it's still got millions of views. So he said, and I'm squinting because y'all know I'm blind as a bat. I am a future president. The Jews have, not even gonna say because y'all ain't gonna flag me, basically blaming the destruction of the world on Jews, comparing Jews to all these vile things. It's up here on the screen. I'm not gonna repeat the words, but then he goes in to say how he's a future president again. Kanye, you're not even the future president of your own household. So what are you talking about? You're gonna be the future president of the United States. Who do you think is voting for you? Okay, your baby mama doesn't even vote for you. None of your exes vote for you. And the crazy part, when I was a cringe liberal back in like 2016 when I was in college, I remember, if this video ever hits the internet again, it will be my personal 9/11. But I remember in 2016 or 15 when Kanye was talking about running for president or announced it on some stage, I literally cried on camera with how excited I was at the thought of that. But that just goes to show that when you're a broke college student that also is a huge Bernie Sanders fan, you don't have the best idea when it comes to politics. Now, his next tweets just started getting more and more vile over the weekend. His next one about loving a particular dictator that, again, I cannot say because I don't want my video getting flagged. But he says, I want this to get old. Me loving that man with that ugly, musty mustache from Germany is old news. It is. It is old news. It's tired. Why do people think that being anti-Semitic is like hot and edgy? Like, what do you think that this is doing for your career? What do you think glorifying one of the most vile leaders in world history that led a massive genocide of millions of innocent people, what does glorifying that person do for you? Like, what about that do you think is making you any more of a legend or an icon when really it's just making you look pathetic? You know, there's this old saying that once you start comparing people to Adolf, then you have lost the argument. Well, when you start praising Adolf, you have lost the plot and you've lost your last collective brain cell. It's really, really sad. And the way that he's just going out of his way to pretty much just troll Jewish people, because I find it really hard to believe that he actually loves Adolf. But I can believe his hatred for Jewish people because it has been going on for quite some time now. And it is old news. It's tired. It's not something that anybody's saying is asking you to continue doing, but he keeps doing it anyway. And then he had the nerve to disrespect MLK as well with one of his follow-up tweets, which, factually speaking, he pretty much tried to give, or he gave some of the writing, or he gave the writing credit of Martin Luther King's iconic speech to Jewish people. And it's like, okay, yes, this is not the tea that you think that it is. He thinks that he is making MLK seem like a Fed and attacking the Jewish people by saying the Jewish people helped write his speech. But really what this is a sign of is something that I thought more people knew, but apparently a lot of people don't know, is that the Jewish people in the Black community have been side by side for a very, very long time. In fact, a lot of Jewish people are Black. That's another thing that shocks people. But when you just look at history, you look at the civil rights movement, you look at what happened in Selma, there are so many different examples of the Jewish and Black communities standing side by side. When nobody was hiring one, the other side was hiring. You know, they always had each other's back. There are Jewish people who gave their lives to fight for Black people to be able to vote. So this whole notion of trying to pit Jewish people and Black people against each other, it's ghetto. Anti-Semitism is just ghetto. Like, I don't understand why people think that this is cool at all, let alone this century. So then it all gets worse. Kanye just continues to crash out, and I want to know who approved this. I mean, people probably didn't know what was going to be on the website, but when you have the Super Bowl, which is the most viral event of the year here in America, those commercials, people are watching just for the commercials because people barely even care about the Eagles winning. A lot of people just care about the halftime performance and the commercials. So Kanye West commercial, again, just wasted money. He put millions of dollars into this just to essentially troll Jewish people. So what he says here, it's him at the dentist looking like Mr. Potato Head, saying, go to Yeezy.com. Now, in the video, what he's saying is how he spent all of his money for the commercial on his teeth. So he's not actually going to do an elaborate commercial, which we all know that that's just trolling. Like, I see what you're trying to do here, Mr. Marketing Genius. And it is marketing genius because you got a lot of people to go to your website. So what did these people go to his website and see? None other than one item for sale. That one item was a white t-shirt with a swastika in the middle. Let me choose my words carefully. Kanye, you're dumb as hell. You are dumb as hell because what is impressive about that? You're going out sad, Kanye. Where are his people at? Where is his team at to try to get him be a sane person again? And I get it. It seems like nobody can really help him because Kim Kardashian had to flee like Harriet Tubman away from that man. And pretty much everybody that he's been in a relationship with has had to flee. And I can only imagine the stories that are going to come from his current wife, this woman that he's been taking around completely naked and making her just like be this emotionless, expressionless, naked doll. Like, it's very much giving exploitation, but this is what Kanye West is doing. You selling a shirt with a swastika on it is not cool. It's not edgy. And his whole reason that he's saying he's doing this is because he wants to prove that nobody can control him and nobody do anything. It's like, okay, I get it. I hate cancel culture. I hate this notion that you have to be like, you have to follow the rules that certain people put on you, but there is a limit to that. There comes a point where it's just, you are lacking so much etiquette, common sense, couth, and intelligence that it's embarrassing and it's harmful to society. And someone like Kanye having the platform that he has, selling shirts with swastikas on it, you're begging to bring back hatred. And to the people who are telling me that I'm being overdramatic about it, please, because everybody would be pressed. At least I would hope that everybody would be pressed if somebody was selling a t-shirt that had a KKK member's face on it or like the mask on it. That would piss me off. And I would expect other people to be as equally annoyed, irritated, and outraged as I am if somebody was going around selling a shirt with such a hateful image or symbol on it. Kanye, you know what you're doing. This is not being edgy. This is you ruining your legacy. This is you creating hatred, building anti-Semitism, and trying to normalize the hatred that Jewish people have been getting for really since the beginning of time, but especially since October 7th. You are out of control. Okay. And I'm saying this again as somebody who is such a fan of your work. Some of your recent albums were trash, but you have given us masterpieces, classics. We want to be able to regard you as one of the greatest of all time, but you continue to make it more embarrassing to stand by you. I almost put one of Kanye's story or his songs on my story recently, and I cringed. I really cringed because I sat there and I thought about it. I'm like, I can't support this man anymore. It is a shame. I'm actually glad someone stole my Yeezys in Colorado. I'm really not over that. That's a story for another day. But I am glad they were stolen from me because they were comfortable. But I'll never buy another pair of Yeezys from you, sir. Now, if you're wondering what the accountability was on Kanye after having this Super Bowl commercial where, again, he was selling a shirt with a swastika on it, and that was the only thing on the website, Shopify did end up dropping him because Shopify, if you're not familiar, is one of the most common platforms that people use in order to do their online stores. And Shopify did not want to support this. So they ended up dropping his website and shutting it down, which, you know what? Again, I'm not a fan of cancel culture, but I'm also not a fan of going out of your way to spread hatred on a platform as big as Kanye West being amplified by the Super Bowl. Now, as far as the lack of condemnation that's coming from the general public, a lot of people have asked me why there isn't more outrage. And even though I feel like everybody that knows about this story is as disgusted, or at least relatively disgusted as I am. But the reason I feel like it's not as viral of a story is because we don't care anymore. Kanye is losing our attention. And I'm giving him all this attention because it pissed me off. And I feel like I'm talking to my cousin right now because Kanye was one of my cousins. And I hope if it's not from me, I hope it's from somebody that sits him down and makes him realize that this is insane. But I don't think there's going to be as much outrage as one would expect, only because, like he said, him loving Adolf is old news. It's tired news. It's played out and it's not cute. Now, another thing that came up was, you know, everybody talking about his White Lives Matter shirt. And his White Lives Matter shirt, although it was controversial and was this big cultural moment, I don't put that in the same regard as the swastika at all. Because the White Lives Matter shirt, this, to me, objectively was not offensive. I was actually in support of this because everybody was talking about Black Lives Matter, Asian Lives Matter, Hispanic Lives Matter, because they do. And White Lives Matter too. Because all lives matter. The second you said that, people would sit there and get mad and be like, oh, you're just disregarding the grief and the different trials that Black people are going through, allegedly. But when it came to White Lives Matter, there was really this era. I feel like people have already forgotten because a lot of people have short-term memory. I'm going to blame Red 40 and the other chemicals in our food for that. But a lot of people have forgotten just how out of control the hatred towards white people got in like 2020, 2021. So when he wore that shirt, that was an iconic moment. And as you see next to him was Candace Owens, a figure that a lot of you have very polarizing opinions on for interesting reasons. And that's all I'm going to say about that. One tweet that Kanye posted that I thought was very disrespectful to someone I'm assuming is still his friend. Candace and Kanye have had a very long friendship. That's something she's very vocal about. I know he was one of the very first supporter, I think technically the first financial big backer of Blexit, the nonprofit that Candace Owens founded. And Kanye tweeted this: George Farmer, I did not F your wife, rest easy. Jared Kushner, on the other hand. So can we pull that tweet back up? Because there's one of two meanings to this. And one of them, I'm just assuming is a lie from the pit of hell, because I know Candace would have been on you like white on rice, dragging you live if she isn't right now. But George Farmer, for those that don't know, is Candace Owens' husband. So him saying that, so this could be interpreted in two ways. Are you saying that Jared Kushner slept with Candace, which is crazy? Or are you saying that you slept with Jared Kushner's wife, which is Ivanka Trump, which is also crazy? So I don't know who's, let me keep this PG. I don't know who's whatever you're lying on, but it sounds like you're lying on somebody. And this is a very dangerous game to play because you're not playing with people's marriages. And jokes aside of how insane that statement was, and the fact that I think you're dealing with people who all will curse you out and read you for filth and come after you like with heat that you have never experienced before, Kanye. I just think it's not cute to be sitting here playing with people's marriages like that. So if what you're talking about, if it isn't true, then you're just out of control. Just because your marriage fell apart and crashed and burned in front of the public eye doesn't mean that you need to start this chaos and drama in other people's marriages. And if it is true, this wasn't the way to put that information out there to the world. That's just utterly disrespectful. Moving along, but still dragging Kanye. Y'all thought it was over. I'm not done, because the part that probably pissed me off the most, let's get into that. So you guys, if you don't know Cassie was this, she's a singer. She was pretty popular in the 2000s. She only put out like a record or two, like as in like an album or two. Her big song was Me and You back in the 2000s. And she dated P. Diddy for many, many years. Now, one of the biggest dominoes that led to the downfall of P. Diddy, of Puff Daddy, was this video that exposed P. Diddy chasing Cassie through the hotel. Once he catches her, knocks her down, and starts stomping her, beating her down. And what I have been saying since the beginning when that video first came out, if that type of abuse is something that P. Diddy was comfortable doing to Cassie in a public place such as a hotel where you're risking, one, people seeing you, and two, it being on camera, I can only imagine the horrors that Cassie dealt with behind the scenes dealing with the likes of P. Diddy. You know what I mean? If you squint and you really think about it, it's really scary to think about. Now, when Cassie was going to sue P. Diddy for all different sorts of abuses, P. Diddy settled out almost immediately because he didn't want everything in the dark to come to the light. And by the grace of God, slowly but surely, more and more things have been coming to light. Now, Kanye, who has clearly seen the video and has been a friend of P. Diddy for a very long time, he thought that it was appropriate to post this first tweet about Cassie. You have to, again, y'all know I'm blind as a bat. I don't have my eyes on. You have to be truly in love to get to the point of risking everything. So Kanye, this is an image of a man beating his longtime girlfriend. And you're sitting here saying that you have to truly be in love to risk everything? Are you insane? So not only are you glorifying trying to wreck other people's marriages, not only are you glorifying anti-Semitism, but you're glorifying domestic violence? Who does that? Like, who actually steps to that low of a low to be glorifying violence? When you have known Cassie for all these years, and Kanye, you also know the way that P. Diddy has been using Cassie for business transactions for well over a decade. For years and years and years, it has been a public secret in all of LA, but now to the public, that P. Diddy literally would bargain Cassie and to have sex with Cassie as a bargaining tool, allegedly, because I have to say that, even though we all know what's really going on at this point, or at least some of what's going on, you went out of your way to celebrate this and to say that that's love and that's risking everything. That is not love. That is abuse. That is hatred. And even with as insane as you are, you still have millions of people around the world that are following your influence. So why would you use your platform to glorify domestic violence? That's the type of mess that I'm just not having it with. Like, how dare you? How dare you? And then what is the one way that you can make that situation even more disgusting? You can try to financially profit off of it. Because the next tweet that Kanye put out about it was the fact that Cassie was wearing a hoodie that Kanye West sells. So he went and started selling this hoodie again, or promoting the hoodie side by side with the image of Cassie getting beaten and abused. Ultimately, Kanye, you're going to hell. At this point, I hope you repent, but at this point, it's really, really getting sad. You are going out bad. He also made another tweet where he talked about prostitution and something about legalizing prostitution. It's like, that's literally 2 words, legalize prostitution. It's like, okay, Kanye, we get it. We get it that you are down with the Diddy allegations. You know what? I've been saying for all this time that it's only a matter of time before I believe that Jay-Z is going to fall. But Kanye, now I'm looking at you. I'm looking at all the things that you're complacent with. I'm looking at the things that you're celebrating. Because for you to post Cassie being abused after knowing the way that Cassie has been basically trafficked in her long-term relationship, now you're saying to legalize prostitution in the same rant. I am actually glad you deactivated your Twitter. You need to go to rehab. You need to go to a mental asylum. You need to go to a local church, and hopefully they still let you in. Because he's also sitting there standing side by side with Diddy, who has a tweet standing by Puff Daddy, making it clear that this is the side that he is taking with all of this. Can we pull that one up? Yeah, Puff got me too'd. No, Puff did it. There's a big difference between getting Me Too'd because there's an allegation versus we have the videos, we have the receipts, we have the images, we have the screenshots, we have the group text messages. We've seen it all. And I know somebody who knows somebody who used to work for P. Diddy. That's all I'm going to say about that. And there is so much more that is going to come to the light. But what you're not going to do is have me disappear. Not today. But back to this raggedy tweet. Puff got Me Too'd, so did I. If you're putting yourself in the same vein as P. Diddy, then that means that you belong in a cold prison cell right next to P. Diddy, or at least down the hall. Free Puff, no. Just no. Did Puff get Me Too'd because of the fighting or because of the money? I never seen a broke and get Me Too'd. What?
Bruh.
What? What does that even mean? Because if you're talking about broke black men going to jail because of either abusing or sexually abusing women, that happens too. You haven't seen it because it wasn't news, because they weren't famous. You can look at any data website ever. See, this is how I know Kanye is just unwell. Just his mind is just gone. And then he started posting all kind of pornography. He posted a thread of like 12 different videos of straight up adult content, full on talking about how much he loves it. And what made me feel really bad about that situation is I saw some tweets reacting to what they saw, and there were some people talking about how they have struggled trying to get away from adult content for years and years, and after finally being clean for so much time, they log into Twitter and the first thing they see is just a thread of Kanye posting this, and it just like brought them back to a dark place. That is really sad, because for those of you who don't know, adult content has the same effect or very similar effects on your brain as meth. And it's a very addicting thing once you fall down that rabbit hole. So for Kanye to, again, use his massive platform to just blast that all over the internet, dude, you just made a Christian album like 5 years ago, if even. Jesus is King. Someone recently told me that I slept on this album because the first listen I ever gave to it was because I like rap and gospel. It was too rap for me to view it as gospel, and it was too gospel for me to view it as rap. And even though I understood what he was going for, it just wasn't hitting for me. But somebody told me I needed to re-listen to it. I promise you I'm not going to now. I promise you I'm not going to. Because Kanye, I'm very disappointed in you. I sound like Greta Thunberg. Kanye, I am disappointed in you. And that's all the time you're getting on my show. And for those in the comments being like, you don't care about getting time on your show, but I care. So I know you care, because that's why you're here.
Bruh.
Moving along. Other news from the Super Bowl. This Super Bowl was not humble. So first and foremost, congratulations to the Eagles. You know, I was actually rooting against the Eagles for a very petty reason. I always just root for Meek Mill to have a bad day, because of how he wronged Nicki Minaj, and I'm very loyal to Nicki Minaj. So I want him to have a bad day. But you know what? My homegirl, Amber Rose, is from Philly, so she had a great time. So shout out to Philadelphia. I am happy for you guys. And you saved us from seeing a Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift engagement. And even though I genuinely want the best for those two, I'm just tired of seeing it. And I didn't need to see that on my screen. But congrats to the Eagles. They won in a game that almost seemed like it was going to be just no points from the Chiefs, which was really shocking to me after they won 2 years back to back. But the Eagles winning isn't the real news out of the Super Bowl. Of course, the real news starts with Taylor Swift. Let's look at this video that I'm sure you guys have seen by now. It has been seen by millions of people, and I'm still blown away by it. With Ice Spice's raggedy self. And for the lip readers out there, it seems like she's saying, what's going on? After being booed out of the stadium. Now, my first reaction to this is, what did Taylor do to deserve this? Like, I'm sorry, I low-key feel kind of bad, because as much as I am more than willing to whack Taylor Swift when it's appropriate, because I do find her insufferable at times, and I do think that she can be annoying, I do also believe that she gets an unfair amount of criticism and hatred. Like, I think that it's the same thing, similar sentiment as with Beyonce. Some of the hatred, particularly hatred that grown men have towards Taylor Swift, is getting really weird. And I put on my Instagram story this video, and I asked, why is she getting booed? I have never in my life had a story get so many thousands of replies from all the people talking about because she endorsed Kamala, because she's insufferable, because she is at the NFL games and they give her too much screen time, because her music is bad, because she's overexposed, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, wow. I thought this was America's sweetheart, but it really does go to show the more love you have in this world, the more hatred you're going to get as well. And Taylor, I hope you at least had a decent time. I'm sorry you didn't get that ring, but neither did your boyfriend. Neither of y'all got a ring that night, but she was sitting next to Ice Spice, and the only thing that annoyed me was that she was by Ice Spice because Ice Spice is a very problematic individual. Another person I was rooting for until she threw it all away, but y'all don't care about Ice Spice, and neither do I anymore. So let's talk about the person that I think was a hero of the night. Donald Jaquan Trump getting this round of applause, and look at Melania looking sickening. Oh, sickening in a good way. That's slang for y'all. This leather coat. Melania Trump, they better give you your fashion icon influencers this time, or I will literally go and curse out every single fashion mogul, because Melania's out for blood. And my president looks good. The hand holding is firm. They are walking. This is what strength looks like. It has been so long. But let me not do too much, because, PragerU is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we do not endorse candidates or politicians. But me personally, I'm not making an endorsement either, because he already won. So it was really a sign of the times that there's also another clip of when he was saluting to the crowd and everybody was just cheering this eruption, complete opposite of Taylor Swift. And it just makes me wonder, what timeline are we in where Taylor is now being booed out of the arena and President Trump is being cheered and applauded? That to me was just the most symbolic culture shift that I have ever seen in 4K. So that's all I got to say about that. Now, when it comes to Kendrick Lamar, a lot of people were heated from the beginning that Kendrick was chosen for this. Now, some people were saying that Kendrick Lamar doesn't have enough undeniable hits. Like, there's certain hits that it doesn't matter who you are, what music you listen to, what side of the political aisle you're on, these songs. Like, some of those would be Billie Jean by Michael Jackson, Don't Stop Believin' by Journey, I believe. Don't be mad at me if I said the wrong. It is Journey. Thank you. It's going to confirm for me. That's Journey. All these different songs that are undeniable hits, even if I don't know the artist, sometimes it is an undeniable hit. But I do think Kendrick Lamar has a good amount of hits that are objectively undeniable, like Humble, one of the news that came out of this after the Super Bowl weekend. That song has now sold over 20 million copies in the US, counting streams, which would make it double diamond, which for those who don't know, would tie it for the highest certified selling single in the history of the United States. Now, that is really interesting because I knew Humble was a massive hit, but I know it was that big of a hit. The song that actually currently holds that record is Sunflower by Sway Lee and Post Malone. If you know, you know. It's a bop, but I was also shocked to learn that that's a double diamond certified hit. But all that to say, Kendrick Lamar brought in 133.5 million views, making it the most viewed Super Bowl of all time. And I don't think I've ever seen as polarizing of as a Super Bowl performance. And it's not even polarizing for the reasons that you would necessarily expect. It seemed to be more polarizing because people couldn't decide if it was good or not. Like, some people were saying that this was the worst halftime of all time, which I think is a massive stretch. There's definitely some that I would say would fight for that spot more, but then there were also people saying that this was the greatest of all time, or at least the greatest since Michael Jackson, since everybody knows objectively Michael's was the best. Factually, objectively, not subjective, objective, Michael was the GOAT. So it's interesting to see the different feelings against it or about it. Now, here are my 2 cents. My initial thought was, I couldn't understand him. That was the first thing I tweeted about. Well, the first thing I tweeted is that the song Squabble Up needs to be banned by Project 2025. We say squabble up, squabble up. Trash. Kendrick, you know better. You know that song is terrible. Stop singing that song. I'm tired of that song. It's tired. But he does have some bops. He really has some bops. Now, again, I couldn't understand the man. I could only make out a couple lyrics here and there. And the thing that's crazy is I knew every song that he performed, but I don't know if it was an audio. It was 2 things. It sounded like an audio issue, which it's a massive stadium. I'll give them some grace with that, but also learn how to enunciate. Nicki Minaj, you will always be the standard. Because say what you want about Nicki Minaj, she will be rapping fast, she will be performing, she will be dancing. You can understand every single word she is saying. Same thing with and we'll get more to him later, Drake. You can understand what Drake is saying. Or what's his name? What's his name? Is crazy. Kendrick Lamar was up there. I couldn't understand a word he was saying. He was like, it was like giving mumble rap. I wasn't here for it. Now, the person who I thought should have had the whole Super Bowl was SZA. Give it up to SZA. Once again, shout out to black women. Because SZA ate that down. The fact that SZA was only on stage for like 20 seconds was a crime against humanity. Because SZA, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to have watched your career grow and for you to come as far as you have. SZA was holding it down up there. That's a woman who also was notorious for not enunciating in her videos or in her songs, but she has gotten really talented with that. She has gotten much better at clarity. And the song Luther, I almost can't even criticize anything Kendrick Lamar ever does because of how good of a song Luther is. But then I remember it's that good of a song because of SZA. Okay? Because low key, and some of you are going to hate me for saying this, but Kendrick Lamar is the overexposed and way too woke Negro spiritual artist that y'all claim Beyonce is. But that's all I'm going to say about that because I'm not about to fight about Beyonce with you people again today. So moving along from that, there was also this moment during his halftime performance of a Palestinian protester running out to the field. I'm really tired of y'all. Do we have that clip? Because if not, it's okay. Oh, here it goes. Is that even the Palestinian flag? I mean, it's definitely for free Palestine, but there's an extra line in it, just making it. I'm sorry, but are y'all not tired? What do you think running around with this tired flag is going to do? Okay, because I don't even think that they showed this on actual TV. Running around with this flag, trying to make a statement saying to free Palestine at the Super Bowl, all you're doing is irritating people. All you're doing is making more people be against your side. Okay? Like, if anything, keep up the great work because the fewer people we have supporting Hamas, the better. But it's getting tired. The streaking is so 2010. If even, like going out and like trying to crash a performance, it is so lame and played out. Like can you come up with something else? That's all I have to say about it. Now, as far as the messaging, the big thing about Kendrick's performance is everybody was saying different things about the messaging. Do we have that clip ready? So let me look at this. So shout out to Goose the Barber. Goose is my barber. Goose is a really legendary person. I need to have him on the show one of these days because Goose is one of the most well-known celebrity barbers in Los Angeles. And he got red-pilled years ago by Larry Elder and is actually the biggest fan of Dennis Prager. And I did not know that until one day he saw my video pop up, my Stories of Us video pop up on his YouTube channel after I had started being a client of his and told me, he was like, we're part of the same tribe. And I'm like, we are cousins. So shout out to Goose. Now, I have it up here on the screen. You guys can read through it all, saying how that with Samuel Jackson being up there, being Uncle Sam, telling him to play the game of that white people expect. See, that is tired to me too. See, this is something that black people do that irritates me. Okay, whenever there is a time where you are going to be on a stage that is family friendly with this many people watching, it is not the time to come and play your most hood ghetto hits. It is simply not the time for that. Okay, this is not playing the white people game. This is playing the family friendly game. This is playing the America has values and standards game. So stop with this victim mindset of, oh no, like we're being too black. We have to sit down and be humble because we're being too black again. Please. Okay? Because Katy Perry wasn't up there playing her most sexual songs or doing the most sexual things like she could have been. And that's a white woman. I don't think you can be any more of a white woman than Katy Perry. And she still knew to tone it down and read the room. So that kind of stuff to me is irritating. Can we pull that tweet up one more time? Or that screenshot up with the prison yard signs. He had the red, white, and blue flag. And that was another thing that was interesting. There was a lot of liberals mad at Kendrick for having the American flag being displayed with his dancers. His dancers ate, by the way. Shout out to all of his dancers. They were mad that there was an American flag, saying that this was basically him giving an homage to Trump. And it's like, we don't know. I will give him credit that it wasn't as overtly political as I expected this performance to be, because I actually made a tweet predicting that this was going to be the most woke, nauseating performance of all time. But it seems like everything was a lot more subliminal, so I was okay with that. Now, what I wasn't okay with, and this is an unpopular opinion, is I thought it was really weird to perform a diss track against one of your peers on this big of a stage. So Drake is already if you guys haven't heard the like song of the year, literally the record and the song of the year as awarded by the Grammys was Not Like Us, which is a diss track towards Drake. And I really wonder, what did Drake do to really make these people that mad? Like, I know that Drake can be a narcissist, and allegedly he owns a piece of pretty much every single rapper's masters, and that was a deal that he did behind the scenes, allegedly. So pretty much every dollar Kendrick makes, Drake is getting a cent or two, is what I have heard, but I don't know how true that is. But the hatred that people suddenly have towards Drake is kind of weird to me. I'm waiting to see if these PDF file allegations are true. I don't put it past almost anybody at this point, but for Kendrick to perform this song that was just completely destroying it, with everybody in the stadium calling Drake a PDF file, it put a bad taste in my mouth. Because I don't think we've seen enough evidence or enough receipts to completely deem Drake of guilty of what I would argue is one of the worst crimes, or if not the worst crime that you can possibly do. So that was weird. He even had Serena Williams out there crip walking. And Serena Williams, this is like the 4th time she has taken the opportunity to humiliate Drake. So that to me was really interesting. Really interesting that she was out there. She definitely ate that dance up, but I don't know. It puts a weird taste in my mouth. I don't blame him, because it's like the song that gave him a renaissance in his career. But to me, it is still all just a little bit weird. But congratulations, Kendrick. It was a successful show. That we can say that at least. Moving on along, I want to talk about this woman of width. So I believe this is the same big-backed woman that was denied a Lyft ride from a driver that we reacted to a couple weeks ago. I didn't know, or like a week ago. I'm saying a couple weeks ago, like this show been going on forever. But that being said, I didn't know she was a rapper, if this is the same big-backed woman that got denied the ride. So go back and watch that episode. But she just went over on The Breakfast Club. And I just thought this entire interaction was very interesting, to say the least. So let's play the clip.
You good?
Good morning.
What's going on? Nice to meet you.
Hi,
How are you?
Stormy.
Hey, King. How you, brother? You good? Nice to meet you, King.
Got it.
Yep. It's the only seat y'all got?
What you want? What you need?
There's one more.
A bigger chair or something?
Cause she already little.
A sectional is crazy.
That's what I'm talking about. Good. This is the accommodation.
There you go.
And even Charlamagne is in there squinting.
You walked in and you said the chair was too small, so we had to bring the part of the sectional for you to sit in. And you said something. You said, "Now this is what I'm talking about: accommodations." Right.
Yes.
But we live in a world that's not always going to be able to accommodate people that
But
are
we
plus
should,
size.
though. We should, because we not all the same, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we should. Like, why not? I feel
Why
like-
not? Because there's no reason for you to be that big. Okay? There is no reason for you to be that big. You just had these people bring over an entire couch for you. There is no excuse. This is why we need to make America healthy again. And the fact that these people are so big, but have this mindset that we are all supposed to accommodate them being that wide, girl, I'm still glad that Lyft driver didn't let you in, because what are you doing? And I'm glad that Charlamagne clocked it, because Charlamagne is one of those people that pretends to be way more woke than he actually is. Charlamagne knows that this woman is too big. And he was looking at her like, what do you mean being accommodating? Like, child, I have had enough of people who put themselves in really unhealthy, terrible, toxic situations, and then they pretend to be shocked when the world isn't accommodating them. You should not be getting free seats on a plane. You shouldn't need a whole sectional to sit down in a room. And I think that we should be all more accommodating because people have different situations. Yeah, we should be accommodating to people who can't walk. We should be accommodating to women who are pregnant. We should be accommodating to the elderly. We shouldn't be accommodating to someone who can't push the plate away. Okay? Because you're the type of girl to take a whole pan of lasagna to your room. And I'm tired of it. 600-pound life looking self. Girl, you talking about rapping. Girl, you need to go eat a wrap. Eat something healthy. Moving along. Okay, so I want to skip on ahead down to this FEMA situation. So if you guys have seen on Twitter that there is this allegation going on that, well, actually, you know what? Let me back up a little bit. So everyone is pissed off about this whole situation that Doge has exposed. So you know Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, they're going through line by line of all of our different budget items that we are putting federal aid towards. And all over Twitter, people are pissed off because it was revealed by Elon Musk that $59.3 million was sent last week to New York City. And the reason that was being alleged is that all of this money was going towards putting illegal immigrants inside of luxury hotels. And the situation got so big so quickly that 4 employees from FEMA, and if you don't know what FEMA is, that is a federal emergency management agency. So pretty much the government agency that is financially responsible for helping out Americans or whomever in need. 4 different people, including the CFO, ended up getting fired. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons to be pissed off by this situation. I just want people to be pissed off accurately. That is my whole thing. So the government's disaster relief fund, I want to clarify, is a separate fund from what is going towards illegal immigrants. And a lot of people gave attention to FEMA for the first time back when Hurricane Helene was going on because there wasn't enough money for these people suffering from the hurricane. And when this big disaster happened over in North Carolina, there were people getting kicked out of hotels because they didn't have enough resources coming from the government after losing everything. So everybody was looking at FEMA and being like, well, FEMA is sending money here, here, and here. Now, another reason that people are irritated is because something that we've known for a while, per New York Times, this was in May of 2024. I don't know what the stat is now, but 135 out of New York City's nearly 680 hotels, which is 20% of the hotels in New York City, our largest, most populated city in America, they were housing illegal immigrants. So that has been something that I've been irritated about for a while. So now when the allegations started going on that the $59 million was sent to New York last week, the city officials stepped in and clarified that there was a separate fund for the migrants than the disaster relief fund, which is true because FEMA partners with the Customs and Border Control and they administer that money through the Shelter and Services Program. And that's pretty much a government fund that is, or it's a government-funded program, I should say, that is providing assistance and housing for illegal immigrants released here in the U.S. Now, another thing I got from New York Times that I thought was interesting about that is they clarified that Congress created in 2023 to dole out grants to groups and localities that provide shelter and other services to migrants who are released in the U.S. from Department of Homeland Security custody after crossing the border. The program created under Mr. Joe Biden was created as the border crossings were surging in our major cities. So, again, this is all reason to be mad. Because personally, I don't think we should be putting a single dollar towards the comfortability of illegal immigrants. The only money that we should be putting towards illegal immigrants, in my opinion, is sending them back home. Because you need to go back, get your paperworks, pick up your birth certificate, and come on over here properly through the system. But what I want to clarify is that people keep spreading this $59.3 million figure, and I just want us to be accurate when we're mad because otherwise we lose credibility. And just as quickly as the right has gained credibility and gained respect, we can lose it if we're not accurate about the numbers. So what the real number is that is going towards these hotel costs is $19 million that's going towards the hotels of illegal immigrants. And then the rest of that balance is going towards giving them, food, some other forms of like shelters and security for these people. So yes, there was $59 million going towards New York for illegal immigrants, but 19 million of that is going towards the hotels. And the reason why I'm being this Karen about it is because, again, we will be nitpicked ad nauseum if we are not accurate in what we are and where this money is going. But again, even $19 million for hotel costs is insane. Why are 20% of the hotels in New York being used to house illegal immigrants? Why are we not putting them on buses and planes and sending them back to the countries that they came from? There is no reason that we have so many issues here in America, yet this is what we're spending our money on. You know, Congress, so I believe it was 2 years ago now, Congress allocated $650 million to the shelter program through the Custom and Borders Protection budget for the 2024 fiscal year. So $650 million is a lot of money that could have gone to a lot of places. And their justification for it is that $7 billion alone has went into New York City and the state to pretty much shelter and take care of feeding these illegal immigrants. And while I love that America is a country that really tries to treat humans like humans as we should, we also need to treat criminals like criminals. Okay? If you come over here legally, then you come over here and you earn the resources. But if you come here illegally, we shouldn't be putting you in luxury hotels. And then these hotels and these New York City Council officials are trying to argue, oh, they weren't luxury hotels. They were nice. Like there were motels and hotels at discounted rates. Regardless of what you paid, you still paid for illegal immigrants to be in these hotel rooms. Meanwhile, you have people in North Carolina kicked out of their hotels. So one of the things I want to clarify again is that the money that is going towards the disaster relief here in America is a totally separate fund from the fund that is going towards illegal immigrants. Don't be mad that there isn't or don't be mad saying that they took money from the fund that is going towards Americans and put it towards illegal immigrants, because that's not what happened. If you're going to be mad, because I know I'm mad, be mad that that's a fund in the first place. Because we should be using that money for way more American-centric issues. How about we use that for the 33,000 homeless veterans that we have here in America? How about we use that for the 1.2 million children that are homeless in America? I keep saying it. Have y'all forgotten that Flint, Michigan still doesn't have water? That problem alone is going to take hundreds of millions of dollars for these people to have clean water. And I would rather spend hundreds of millions of dollars to make sure that Americans in Flint, Michigan have clean water rather than putting $650 million towards the comfortability of illegal immigrants. Be so for real. Okay? You also have 60% of low-income kids who don't even have proper books to read at home or just like even in their classrooms. Y'all want to talk about systemic racism? Let's talk about all the poor black kids who go to rundown schools with terrible textbooks. And it's a lot more than just poor black people, but these poor kids are not getting the proper education that they need. And instead of putting more money towards that and cracking down on that whole situation, we're funding these illegal immigrants and making sure that they have a place to stay in a country that they're not even supposed to be in. It's out of control. And you also have 25 million Americans without health care. So as you can tell, I'm irritated by it, but let's be irritated for accurate reasons. Moving along. Now, I want to talk about this very briefly, and really the only reason that this is more for my brother than anybody. My brother, who he is so interesting because one moment he does not care about politics. The next day he is completely nosediving into politics. And he doesn't even live in Ohio, but he found this article that was talking about how in Ohio, and excuse, the weird language I got to use for this, but I'm just calling it how I see it. Ohio has apparently put forward some legislation or can't even say it. So Ohio has put forward some proposed legislation to ban having erections unless you have the intent of having sex and creating a child. And when he sent me this screenshot this morning, it was from World Star Hip Hop. I'm like, okay, there's no way that this isn't satire. But then I looked into it and it's real. So I'm sorry, I'm trying to tell this story with a straight face and try to be mature about it, but this is just so crazy. This is so insane. So I looked into it, and here's pretty much what the situation was. What had happened was there are Democratic state representatives that are so annoyed by the legislature going on about abortion and voting for abortion that they have decided to make a statement by saying, okay, if we are going to make laws that are policing women's bodies, then we need to make laws that police men's bodies. And this to me is irritating because what you have now done by putting forward some legislation that doesn't even make sense, that you're never going to be able to enforce, that has no real substance to it, you have just wasted taxpayer dollars. I don't live in Ohio, And Ohio really isn't my business. But if for those of you who do live in Ohio, you need to crack down on these state representatives, which were, of course, all left-leaning, by the way, these leftists that are wasting taxpayer dollars by pretending to ban sex that is not leading to creating a child. Okay, I get what you're trying to do here. You're trying to make this edgy little statement towards all the different people, and it's just failing. It's failing. It's wasting people's time. I guarantee you that there are enough issues in Ohio that you should actually be focused on rather than making fake laws to waste your state assembly's time and wasting the dollars of the people of Ohio. So is this a real law that they're trying to pass? Yes, these leftists are trying to pass it, but is it something that is ever going to pass or ever be enforced? Absolutely not. Once again, leftists and Kanye West have wasted our time. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Respectfully. Again, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click the link in the description to let us know what you like to hear about and what you don't like to hear about. And be sure to come back on Thursday. I am going to be actually reacting to my woke content from years ago for the very, very, very first time. It's going to be an interesting episode. I'll see you soon.